Hey, 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 welcome to episode number 26 of the Think Like a Marketer show. I'm Randall Chestnut, and we interview marketers, entrepreneurs, and find out what makes them think so differently than everyone else and try to dig some tips, stories, and tricks for you. So, we're coming to the end of 2018. And like many things, you reflect on what worked in that year and what didn't work through your finances and your business and your marriage and just collectively everything. Because I mean, good Lord, did 2017 just or 18 flew by. So we're moving into 2019, and today's topic is about digital strategies for going into 2019 that you should be aware of for your company. If you own a business or you want to build a brand, these are good. It's always good to be ahead of the trend, not chasing the trend or middle of the trend. It's like if you could be the person in front of the trend. I mean, imagine, the people who got on Instagram and Facebook super early back when you remember when you would like, I follow you and then they would follow you back. Yeah, that's not a thing anymore. But it used to be. And then those people, if you go all the way back, the people that used to do that, and now you fast forward 5 years of people doing that, 6 years, those are the people who had these huge followings because they got in it early. And most things are like that. So I've asked my buddy Sami Khaleeq to come on and talk about what does he see the future on. But before I bring him on, I want to give you a little bit more information and background about the guy. I mean, he can't help it that he's got a beard. He can't help it that he's working all the time. He can't help it that he likes doing good selfies. If
I'm
you
all
follow
about
this
selfie.
guy, you know
I
what I'm
just
talking about.
crossed 3,000 selfies.
I know, right? You're the only guy that I know that can get like 400 people into a selfie.
It's good.
So Sammy works with startups. He's worked with government agencies on the federal and state level on working with them to coming up with digital strategies for their brand or for government agencies or people who are running for office. He did preference it that he had no involvement in the Trump fiasco or any part of that. So I want to introduce my buddy Sami Khaleeq. Sami, thanks for coming on and giving me the most valuable thing you have. That's your time.
Always, Randall, always for you. Uh, you know, 2019 is around the corner, and Randall and I get to chat a lot about what's happening in the market. And, we're always talking about trends, what's new, what needs to happen. And one of the things that constantly keeps coming back is user-generated content. Before it was all about you and me posting content and people consuming it. Now it's all about how do you get the user to talk about your product and your technology and your service.
Right, right. It's those micro moments during the customer journey.
Yeah,
We try to keep it. There's lingo that you and I talk, and then there's lingos like what is that? What is a customer journey, and what is a micro moment? So for people
yeah.
who don't know what a micro moment is, right? Basically, a micro moment is when a customer is reflexive, and they just like you reflexively reach for your phone or that's a fancy word, by the way, right? Reflexively.
It
Is that
is.
a word? It is a word, right?
You may have to define it.
I just made it up. It's what you just reactively grab your phone and you start scrolling through whatever platform you want, or you reactively, ask your a voice device to do something. It's in these micro moments that these consumer journeys can start. That you just randomly like, I want to know where is to get good pizza, right? And understanding how can you insert yourself into those micro moments, right?
Well, it's like I want to go, blah, 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 what's near me, which has become huge, for searches. So very targeted and extreme searches are becoming huge. People no longer want to know what's 5 miles away. They want to know what's 1 mile away next to me. And, I remember seeing a stat last week when I was reading Google Update. There's 150 micro moments in a day on the average person's life. So imagine how important it has kind of become to capture that user's attention on those micro
Right.
moments.
Yes. Can we back up a little bit? Because when we start talking industry stuff in this, I wanted to kind of share a little background that you have. Can you do that? Like going back?
Yeah, just about myself. I've worked with, or as an agency, I get to have a pleasure of meeting some really cool people and thought leaders. Having had the pleasure to connect with and learn from, Gary Vee, Tony Robbins himself. You got Lewis Howe, Carlos Gill, Heather, Dennis Yu. So I've just been blessed. I'm just a very heavy networker, and I'm always trying to learn. And I always say, uh, for an agency to grow and be able to do justice to its customers, we spend 40% of the time learning.
Right.
And
That's
and
true.
people take that as a joke, but in the world of digital, you have to constantly stay ahead of the curve, because
Yeah.
you can miss your micro moment any chance.
That is true. It's one of the we're just moving at light speed. It's like when everyone is doing something, it's already it's kind of like the stock market, right? This is the way I look at
Yeah,
it. You and I talk about it's like whenever you know that a stock is hot, it's too late. Everybody
very
knows
true.
that now.
Very true. And I'll back up, and exactly what you said is 100% true in marketing. What happens is a lot of times people are spending money, and then when the market starts going down, they start spending less money. When what
Yep.
they actually have to do to brace for it is start spending more money so they can make their balance sheets the same. Uh,
Right.
that's unfortunately very true, and a lot of people still believe that social media is free. Nothing is free to play. You're either paying with your time, you're paying with your knowledge, or you're hiring somebody to do it right for you. Houston, unfortunately, uh, has a lot of burnt clients who've been screwed up by freelancers and everybody who calls themselves a social media expert.
When you meet with someone, and they just throw you in that basket. Like, oh, it's
Yeah,
a digital marketing, and I totally get it. Like why they think that way, because unfortunately, most marketers are not even good at marketing. Like, what do they actually do? Like, we all know that if you want to succeed in any um, industry, no matter what it is, pick one thing that you want to be known for and master, and make sure everybody knows that if they think about, dog washing, that you're the dog washer of Houston or whatever it is, or you're the flower bed designer, or you're the Facebook guru, or you're the AI guy, right? Because all of us know how to wash dogs and mow yards and do all of these things, but no one would look to you probably as the expert. You don't want to be, this is what I say, you don't want to be the diner when you sell sushi. Because
yeah. And one of the biggest trends coming up in 2019 is going to be in the niches. So the more focused your product, the more focused your services, and the more targeted it is, that's going to be the big key on the strategy side of these marketers and small businesses. So it's no longer about being a social media expert, right? You might have to
right,
be the expert of email marketing, or the expert of SMS marketing, or the expert of advertising. One person, we're at a point where one person cannot do everything. And if you're trying to do everything, you're going to achieve nothing in 2019.
right. No, I 100% agree. I mean, it really comes, they always say there's simple and easy. Simple is the measure of complexity, and easy is a measure of effort, right? It's
True.
easy. It's very simple to write a book, say, for example, right? You just need a pen and paper and start writing. But the easy part, the effort part, that's where people drop off, right? It is easy to build a successful, or simple to build a successful marketing campaign. It's like building a house. You sit down, you build a blueprint, and then you go build it. But the effort and the money behind it is where people stop the actual execution of a plan. Usually they don't have a plan. And if they do have a plan, then they don't fully execute it. Have you experienced this before?
Happens all the time. I will sign up customers, and the first thing they'll go is, "Can we skip the strategy and get to work?" Or the next day of the contract, they're like, "When can we get started?"
Right.
Um, so I'm always constantly trying to tell them, "Hey, look, You really have to have a solid foundation before you can just begin doing it. And one thing
Right.
you said in the beginning of this video was amazing. When a new platform comes out, if you're the first one on it, just because nobody else is using it doesn't mean you shouldn't either. People who are really successful on Snapchat, Instagram, or Facebook now are the ones who began, when Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat were starting, when
Right.
nobody believed in it. Look at DJ Khaled.
Yep.
Snapchat made him, he made Snapchat. The best prime example.
Yeah. Um, that's a good segue to lead into, because this is really where I think we're going to. And before I go there, I want to say, if you have any questions, whether you're watching this on the replay or watching live, and you have them for Sam, put the questions in there. Like, don't be shy. After the replay, if it's after replay, Sammy will go through. If you have a question, he'll answer it. And if there's one, I'll certainly answer it too. I mean, when you have an expert in front of you that does something, it behooves you to actually use the expert. Like, I mean, think about if I was interviewing Warren Buffett, would you ask him some questions? So feel free to ask some questions. I mean, Sammy is not only does he have the knowledge, but he has the experience, and not just experience like book, like being in the room with the names that he had mentioned, the Lewis Howes, which I totally love that guy. I think he's going to be like the next Oprah Winfrey for guys, or like with this whole thing and his network the television show that he's working out. So feel free to pop a question in there, even if you're watching this on the replay. So Sammy just mentioned a great point, like getting on a platform before it's known. And just because somebody else isn't on it, that's not, just, who cares if somebody else isn't on it, right? Try it out. And one of those platforms is Alexa voice search and voice activity, because it's more than just voice search, because you can do more than search with the voice, right? And I have found myself using it more and more, like in my own home.
And I'm kind of glad you mentioned voice search. Voice search is people believe it's still new and nothing is happening, but can you believe it that 1/3 of all searches today on Google are voice search? Either using Smart Assistant, using Alexa, using, you got Siri, you got Connect, you got a bunch of platforms, but 1/3 of searches on Google. That's huge.
4 of them, right?
Yeah, there is Siri, 4 major ones.
Alexa, Google.
Yep, Google AI. So just looking at today, it being 1/3, they were saying by 2020, half the searches on Google are all going to be voice search. So if you're not playing in the voice arena, you're missing out big time. It's working great for real estate. It's working great for service industries. People are listening to podcasts. So
right.
voice is beyond huge, and people not on it right now are just missing out big time. So we reiterate the fact that voice becomes more and more popular. There was a rise of podcasts this year. Earlier this year, everybody was, trying to learn how to be a podcaster. So they constantly keep missing the boat.
Right.
I still remember there are people who are against getting websites. And, it was almost 10 years ago where Bill Gates was saying, if you're not going to have a website, eventually your brick and mortar is going to die. And there's people still fighting. They're still fighting about getting a website. And I'm going, hey, we're in voice search, which is run by AI and technology. Yet folks now are still not getting it. They're missing the bandwagon big time.
Right. So we have a question for Tony about influencer marketing, which I know you really know a lot about that, but I wanted to let her know that we'll get to that. But this voice search, right? So some of the things when people think about, what? So when you say, what can I do on this voice search? Well, one of the things that is up and coming, so to speak. So you talked about podcasts. You can voice search those on any device, and you think about every device you have now has the podcast ability, your computer, your cell phone. And now every car that they make from 2017, I think, and on is going to be enabled to be able to plug your phone and have podcasts. And some of them are built into the screen if it's your sync and stuff like that. So it's everywhere. And for those of you who don't know what podcasting is, basically it's just radio on demand, like a specific topic. And it's not controlled by, media conglomerates and they get to tell you. It's controlled by people just like you who could tell stories, right? But there's one interesting piece that nobody, so there's what, 650 plus thousand podcasts, right? 60 plus million Alexa devices only, right? And there is a feature inside of Alexa that is called a flash briefing. And basically what it is a 10-minute, you can set up your device to give you a flash briefing or a news briefing of something you're interested in. Maybe you want to know golf every morning. So when you wake up, you can have your actual alarm go off and they say, hey, here's your golf flash briefing. Or like Sami and I, we keep up with our industry. So every morning when at a certain time, I'm already up though, it says, hey, would you like your flash briefing? And it gives me, and I have the key places that I go, TechCrunch and those places. And it gives me a quick 2-minute, what are the most important things that are going on? And I go about the rest of my day knowing that. And if I wanted, I can actually go do a little bit more research. But here's the number that makes the difference with that. When Sam was just talking about how amazing this is like an opportunity. 60 million Alexa enabled devices, 4,200 flash briefings. You see the difference? Like between 625,000 podcasts and only 4,200. If you're looking for an opportunity, that's where it's at, right, Sam?
That's it. I mean, look at podcasts for an example. Take Houston and New York. On average person in Houston drives about hour and a half a day back and forth from home to office, and that's hour and a half worth of podcast time that people are consuming. And then look at New York. Everybody is going through the substations, jumping on trains, metro. Public system in New York is huge. So
oh my God!
I'm on that station.
Yep. So
so if you're not if you're not in the play for consumption and your content's not out there for people to consume, you're missing out. And now's the time and now's the opportunity. I think it's starting to get late for podcasters to grow anything at this point. And the next bandwagon is voice. And if they're not jumping on voice now, I think they're going to miss that before the new year kicks off.
Right. Well, I mean, it's like putting out content, like video, right? Like you can record the video, put it out there, have this content. You got to be everywhere your consumers are with information that helps them, right? It's like be on YouTube. If your consumers on YouTube, be on YouTube. If they're on Facebook, be on Facebook. Instagram, if they're on there. If they're on LinkedIn is huge right now with organic video. And if they listen to podcasts, which I think people are, and it's a niche, like who knows? So I spoke at the Pod Houston, and one of the people who walked up to me, 25 years old, Sami, and he tells me that he has a podcast and he talks about Power Rangers. I was like, what?
Hey, there is market for that.
Yeah, 10,000 downloads a month. I'm like, are there really that many people who like the Power Rangers? So that like no radio station would take that on. Like we're going to talk all about Power Rangers for the next hour on any radio station, but you can on a podcast. You can talk about whatever you want. It doesn't matter. And if there's somebody who's interested in that and they find it. Talk a little bit more about why, when you talk about voice, like what is some things that people could do to get in the voice search? Like they're like, where do I go? Do I put my name in Google and say my name in a voice thing and send it to them?
No, more than that, I would say what app that is really great to get you start learning how to podcast and get a feel around is Anchor. Anchor is still out there. Is a really positive app to get you started in the world of podcasting. Very simple. All you do is you grab your phone, download the app, and start playing with it. It'll at least get you to start doing something in the arena of voice. And I always say it's all about being repetitive. A lot of people don't understand. They think they're going to jump on a live video or audio and they're going to be the best guy uh,
Right.
listening to it. So play test it. You constantly need to keep improving. And I think that's one thing I've been learning in podcast world, is people hate criticism. And if you can't take criticism on people telling you what you need to fix or what you need to improve, you're never going to make it. So even though
Right.
you're trying to get in the arena of audio, the attention span on people is really, really low. You sound monotone on that Alexa, they're gonna turn you off in a
Right.
flash on that flash news.
Right. Well, one of the things, back to the voice search, right? I wanted to like say a little bit more why voice has become, because why voice is so important. Like Bobby Bryant, right? He's developed an app, voice search for specifically real estate called Ask DOS, right?
Yeah.
And right now, I'm sure he has a tough time getting real estate agents, because that's who uses it mostly. And the consumer can use it too, and eventually they will, to understand why he is doing it. He's still early, because when there is no device like an actual screen to type something in on, and you're like in a virtual world, the only thing that you can use is your voice to search something. That if you're actually in a virtual experience and you say, Alexa, show me something, because what are you going to type on it? You're in a virtual world. There's nothing to type on.
True.
So you have to rely on voice inside of those. And more and more, we will start talking to our devices and tell our microwave to cook that whatever, and our refrigerator what's not in it, and our, answer the door and open the gate, and whatever it is, we will find that those will proliferate. And we just need to be early in that, right? So I want to get to Tony's question. So Tony asked about where do you see the future of influencer marketing? Before you answer that, kind of give a little background for those who don't know, like what influencer marketing is, and what it involves.
In brief terminology, influencer is a person who has influence. Doctor is influencer in the subject of medicine. So what social media has kind of done is it has given platform to these experts to grow themselves on social media and become thought leaders. Good example, Randall's an influencer on social media. You're always out there spreading influence and knowledge, and your voice holds value to people who follow you.
So what Sami was basically saying was that influencer marketing is where you have basically influence over other people, and it's nothing new. It goes all the way back to even the Roman times when they had gladiators. Gladiators had influence over filling up stadiums. People had their favorite gladiator that they were like rock stars back then. And fast forward now technology has given the average person the ability to influence someone or large groups, right? So you back, Sami?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
So I was just saying that influencer uh, arena is just gonna keep growing.
Yeah. So you have people like Ryan's toy review. I mean, he's six years old. He's probably 7 years old now, making millions of dollars reviewing toys.
And I think that's gonna be the next big arena in 2019. So you have three key players, right? You got live, you got voice, you got influencers, and influencers are gonna keep rising. Um, but the second big thing that has come back is real influencers, right? You have all these influencers who just have followers that they buy or that they have the cost of putting an ad on their page is close to $20,000 to $27,000. You
Who
have
would have thought?
these 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds making millions of dollars using Instagram.
Right. Most people, when they think about like I could do that, I don't think they realize how much work is actually involved in being an influencer. That it's like, oh, if I just put a pretty picture and I put it up there, and then and then people start liking it and they start engaging with it. I mean, that is not like. Go ahead.
It takes 40 to 60 hours a month, to dedicate your time to single platform to do it right. And
Right.
that's 10 hours a week. It's not, let me take 5 minutes and I'm going to become an influencer, 5 minutes a day. It just does not work that way.
Right. Well, I mean, they said like everything in life is like that, right? You either are all in or it's a hobby. So the work that's involved is a massive amount of work. But I always use this example when, uh, God, what is his name? He accepted his NAACP. God, dog, what's the actor? Oh man, I can't believe Denzel Washington. And he got up on stage. He said it's a great speech, but there was two things that stuck out. One, it says, without commitment, you'll never start. And then he tells a little bit story behind that. And then he says, but without consistency, you'll never finish. See, I think, especially in the influencer world, you see people who start shows or start doing something and they do 5 or 6 shows or 5 or 6 or 3 or 4, or maybe even 10. And then they give up because it didn't give them what they thought they should get in that moment, in that short amount of time. It's the long game. If you're going to be an influencer, you got to think what you're actually wanting to do is to influence people. And to influence people, you have to earn their influence. You have to earn their trust. You have to earn all of those things. It's not given to you. And to get those things, you have to build a relationship. And relationships take time. But I want to add a couple of things before I let you go. But I was just going to close out with first off, where could they find you? If there's somebody wanted to, connect with you and get some more information, where would they be able to find you? I want to say thank you for coming on. Again, I apologize for all of the interruptions there. It's just something you have to deal with. Hopefully you got value out of this episode. Voice search. If I had to say one thing, if you got off of this show and I said, there's one thing that you should look into, I would look into creating an Alexa flash briefing. And if you don't know what that is, again, it's just a short version. It's up. They give you up to 10 minutes. I don't recommend you do 10 minutes, but imagine that it's whatever you're going to specialize in, that every morning if somebody set their phone, when they woke up, you could update them on a specific topic. So let's say you are in golf or finance. Let's say it's finance. Let's say it's that one. That every morning you just give them what the highlights of what is going on that day in the market that happened maybe yesterday. So when they wake up, they get a quick blurb of the news, maybe even before they actually turn on the news, and they get it from you. And it's just a 1 to 2 minute update. So if you get a chance, check that out. Again, 60 million Alexa-enabled devices, and it's only becoming more. 4,200 flash briefings. That's like none. So there's an opportunity there. So, hey, I want to say, hey, if you're not currently following me on the Think Like a Marketer Facebook page, go there, follow me, click that show, get notification. I think on here, when this ends, at the end, it say get notified of the show comes on. Hey, if it's a topic that I'm covering that you don't like, you don't have to watch, but you never know. I'm currently working on getting Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, to come on. We'll see how that goes. He's super busy. I think he would be super interesting, but you got to tune in next week, because next week I'm going to have a special guest that she is going to, she owns a company called Merkle Media. Her name is Shay Rowbottom, and they get 1 billion, not 1 million, but 1 billion views a month on their videos. She's going to come on. She's going to talk about some things on how she got 500,000 views in 6 weeks. And she's going to kind of break it down for us. So you don't want to miss that. If you're wanting to build a brand or grow your business, that's definitely a good way to start, taking an advice from somebody who's done something along those lines. So again, hey, thank you. If you get a chance, check out some of the other interviews I did, and share the show with somebody that you think might find it interesting. And I appreciate you giving me your time. I say the price that you're willing to exchange for something in your time shows exactly how much you value it. So have a great day and enjoy the rest of your week.